You know, there is a such thing as common denominators, basically meaning if something consistently is always happening to you or around you, 9 times out of 10, it's most likely your fault. And the reason why I'm using that phrase or that saying with Demetrius Haley is because his name seems to come up in the most problematic things, either extending outside of Tyre Nichols or within Tyre Nichols. 99% of it is within the Tyre Nichols situation. So I just did a video a couple days ago, literally a couple days ago, talking about how it got exposed that he had took pictures of Tyre Nichols' badly beaten, brutally beaten body and sent it out to at least 6 people. Well, now fast forward to today, it has been revealed, and this what I'm about to tell you is of no surprise or shock, that he didn't tell Tyre why he was pulled over. And see, this is going to go against all those people who tried to say he was resisting and all types of stuff and wasn't complying. They immediately went to that talking point because that's the typical talking point they like to go to when it deals with black people, especially black men, and their interaction with law enforcement. But Tyre was not informed as to why he was pulled over and yanked out of his vehicle. I'm telling you, the trial is going to be very interesting because once they get up out of him what this is, there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to be laid out on the floor when it comes to this. Because I remember when a couple weeks ago, I believe they had put some articles out there. Or it was one article that I saw where they said that they were just left with some unanswered questions. And one of them was, why was Tyre pulled over? And it was never a response as to why it is. I think they were trying to throw out theories as to why, but none of them stuck to the wall. And now you're coming back about 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks later, and this happens, or this comes up about that he didn't tell him as to why he was pulled over. They just pulled him over and yanked him out of his car and started to beat on him. When Tyre Nichols was pulled over at E. Rains and Ross Roads in Memphis on January 7th, a Memphis officer terrorist wearing a black hoodie jumped out of his unmarked car and approached him yelling profanities while talking on the phone, according to a police decertification recorded provided to Insider. So he had a hoodie on. So Tyre probably wouldn't even known this guy was a cop because he didn't appear to be one. He could have appeared to him as maybe being someone who's trying to carjack him. Then Officer Demetrius Haley, who has since been fired and charged with Nichols' murder, never told the 29-year-old driver why he stopped his car, according to the records which were provided to Insider in response to a public records request. You exited your unmarked vehicle, stopped in an opposing traffic lane, and you forced the driver out of his vehicle while using loud profanity and wearing a black sweatshirt hoodie over your head. A statement of charges sent to Haley on January 14th reads, you never told the driver the purpose of the vehicle stop or that he was under arrest. A day after Nichols' beating, the department released a statement describing a confrontation with an alleged reckless driver, later identified as Tyre Nichols. Police Chief C.J. Davis later said there was no evidence that Nichols ever drove recklessly. It says Haley, who joined the department in August 2020, was a member of the now disbanded Scorpion unit, is one of the 5 officers charged with the murder of Nichols. Haley, along with Tadarius Bean, Justin Smith, Emmett Martin III, and Desmond Mills Jr., pulled Nichols over less than 100 yards from his mother's home on January 7th and beat him so severely he died at the hospital 3 days later. Within 20 days, the 5 officers were charged with murder. 2 other officers have been on paid administrative leave, and that's including Preston Hemphill and that unknown 7th officer. And it says, and several remain under investigation by the department on internal charges. It has also resulted in the filing of a federal lawsuit by another Memphis man who alleges he was also a victim of the same officers 3 days earlier, which y'all saw in my video recently about Montarius Harris. The Memphis Police Department's internal charges against Haley, which resulted in the termination, said that Haley and the other officers were caught on body-worn camera making unprofessional comments, including that MFer made me spray myself, as they laughed and bragged about their involvement. Your conversation and lack of concern for the injured subject was witnessed by a civilian who took photographs and cell phone video. And see, they were so kiki and ha-ha, and they didn't even realize that was going on. There was no audio on the body camera that indicated Nichols ever used profanity or any violent threats towards the officers, according to the report. You were also on an active cell phone call where the person overheard the police encounter. And that's what I'd like to know. Who were they on the phone with? Who was Demetrius Haley talking to? See, like I said, you would have thought that these weren't even cops. You would have thought these were gang members. And in that moment, that's exactly what they acted like, especially this one. By the time of Nichols' beating, Haley had already racked up a short list of departmental violations, including a failure to write up a use of force report after his colleague ripped a woman out of her car in 2021 just for laughing inside with her aunt. Video from the scene of Nichols' killing showed the group of officers kicking, punching, and pepper spraying Nichols as he told them he was trying to get home and called out for his mom. An attorney for Martin had previously said that none of the officers intended for Nichols to die, but an attorney for Nichols' family told Insider in Memphis that their actions were designed to kill. It doesn't matter if you claim that they didn't intend for him to die. The fact of the matter is they still beat him badly for no reason. Well, you know what? I believe there is a reason, and I do believe that reason is going to eventually expose itself, and I can't wait for it to do so either. And that was the end of the article. Like I said, Demetrius Haley, this dude right here, I hope he gets everything coming to him in specific. Not saying or taking the heat off of the others, because they played just as much a role in this as he did. But again, he is the common denominator because his name consistently comes up. You would think that he was the ringleader, because a whole bunch of stuff keeps coming up about him. His name seems to be mentioned in a lot of articles in the headlines. Like the headline for this one is Demetrius Haley didn't tell Tyre Nichols why he'd been pulled over. The Memphis cop was talking on the phone during the stop, documents show. His name consistently comes up. You rarely it's almost like you're barely starting to hear about the other ones that was involved, to the point where you think he was the only one that did it. I wouldn't be surprised if they start snitching on him to try to get a plea deal, because that's probably what they're going to set it up to be like for the others that were involved. I would not be in the least bit surprised if that's the route that they try to go when it comes to those others. But this guy, like I said, is complete and utter trash. I'm gonna keep following this story as much as I possibly can, because this is a very hot discussion right now, and it will definitely be for a while. Like, this story isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Most can say, oh, it's because it was black cops that were involved. Some will say, oh, because it was a brutal beating of a black man by black cops. You can say whatever you really want, but as long as the story stays alive, that's really all that matters to me.